As an Indigenous kid growing up in Sydney, Carly Belair dreamed of becoming a pilot. He got his flying licence before he learned to drive.
It was year 8 in high school where I got the bug of flying.
But after 17 years as a domestic airline captain with Virgin, he's been stood down and could face a tough decision.
If I was to relocate my family overseas to another job, I would have to leave everything behind and take up a role there. Otherwise, there's only so much another airline can take in Australia. The other option is I just leave flying altogether and leave behind all the experience I've gained so far.
Forced to ground most of its fleet in response to the coronavirus pandemic, Virgin has now gone into voluntary administration to try and restructure its crippling $5 billion debt burden.
Our board made a very courageous decision last night to put the company into voluntary administration and do so quickly with the intent of working with our administrator Deloitte to come through and be as strong as we possibly can on the other side of this crisis.
Yeah, the news is certainly disappointing. It's something that you wouldn't want anyone to go through, particularly when you've made a commitment in your life as your career path.
When Virgin launched with the support of flamboyant British businessman Richard Branson at the turn of the century, it was known as Virgin Blue, a cut-price competitor in a market dominated by Qantas and Ansett. But after Ansett's collapse in 2001, Virgin upgraded its services to go head-to-head with Qantas.
I think it's an exciting day for the travelling public in Australia.
Virgin essentially got to the position it is today because of issues with its shareholders, a strategic plan that wanted to take the airline head-to-head with Qantas in the corporate market. That was a very tough battle for it.
Virgin has been pleading for a $1.4 billion lifeline from the government in order to stay afloat, but it was rebuffed.
The government was not going to bail out 5 large foreign shareholders with deep pockets who together own 90% of this airline.
It might be called Virgin Australia, but it's majority foreign-owned. As well as Richard Branson's 10% stake, Chinese companies Nanshan Group and H&A Group hold another 40%, while Singapore Airlines and Etihad Airways own 20% each.
I have so much pride when I put on that uniform, that purple tie, that grey suit, I walk out the door. And when someone says to me, what do you do for work? I'm very quick to jump in and answer, I'm a flight attendant with Virgin Australia. I love it with all my heart. It is me.
Brett Hopwood has been a Virgin flight attendant for 16 years.
At this particular stage, I'd say that I don't want to work for another airline. I worked for Virgin proudly for the last 16 years, and I'd move on to something and give my all to another industry.
Keep us in the air and keep it fair.
Please help us to keep flying.
Last week, Virgin flight attendants across the country added their voices to the campaign for government intervention.
Please, please save Mummy's job.
We need help from anywhere that we can get it. I would love to see the government step in.
The government shouldn't step in to rescue the Virgin Australia organisation with its $5 billion debt incurred by foreign owners.
Alan Fells was the head of the competition regulator when Ansett collapsed. He said the government shouldn't bail out Virgin, but it should help new owners keep the airline going.
Airlines are a critical part of Australia's infrastructure, same as public transport. And experience shows in airlines and elsewhere, but airlines especially, that an airline monopoly is not good for consumers or the community.
Band manager Ben Dennis has been a regular flyer on Virgin, accruing a huge amount of frequent flyer points.
I've got a couple of 100,000, so that's enough to get me a couple of business flights to and from London.
Virgin has said its frequent flyer program Velocity has not been placed in administration, but it has stopped any redemptions from the program for at least 4 weeks.
I'm definitely concerned as to what the healthiness of Virgin Velocity will be after the administrator kicks in and potentially sells off the company, and how the value of those points will be taken after that.
He went all over the shop.
But Ben's concerns are far deeper than his own frequent flyer points.
So the competitive nature under a two-airline country means you can negotiate better deals. It means that the music industry, for example, negotiated a really great deal to give bands excess baggage so that they don't need to pay huge sums of money to fly gear around the country. With one airline, you lose that power of negotiation.
Going into administration means Virgin could save hundreds of millions of dollars by renegotiating lease agreements for big budget items such as aircraft and terminals to reduce its debt. The hope is new owners will be found to keep the airline going.
Any prospective person who wants to own an airline, here you go. Here's a great organisation, stripped away or debt reduced and restructured. It's a very attractive proposition, and I'm certain that Virgin will fly out of this.
Everyone loses if we have a Qantas monopoly. So the government needs to take some action to help get a second airline afloat.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.